Today, I'm going to tell you about one of the best years I've had in my career. It's a big call to make, I know. I once managed an art centre on a remote tropical island off the Arnhem Land coast, so that's a very tough act to follow. But that's another presentation entirely. At the end of 2022, I walked away from the security of government after 10 years working on some pretty big agendas, including 6 years in the Office of Northern Australia. I was yearning for something more, but knew I wasn't done with the Northern Australia agenda. I needed to get out from behind a desk and the shadow of politics to get some genuine dirt on my far too shiny boots. Northern Australia wasn't something I just worked on. I'm born and raised in North Queensland, have lived in Broome, Kununurra, across Arnhem Land, down in the Gulf, had a stint in Central Australia, and have called Darwin home for the past decade. But I was feeling disconnected to the real side of the buzzwords I was getting far too good at writing. A strong north means a strong nation. Northern Australia, an economic powerhouse. Go north, go forth. Legit, I could go on for hours like this. So I threw the word out that I was seeking change, and then the call came that I could never have imagined. Belle, let me pitch this. I need someone who lives and breathes the North, has a creative eye, doesn't whinge in the build-up heat, has cultural etiquette, willing to travel to all of our projects, regional, remote, and really bloody remote, to tell the story of the impact our research is making. You'll need an Akubra, camera, drone, and some tough luggage. Well, I couldn't believe it. I felt on top of the world. So at the start of 2023, off I went. I travelled over 57,000 kilometres to 17 locations and met hundreds of people who are delivering the real and authentic action behind the words developing Northern Australia. It wasn't all glamorous or demure. For the most part, it was hot, confusing, complex, sparse, inefficient, referring only to freight and air travel, and occasionally scary, like when I realised a snake kit in my backpack was more important than my notepad. Trust me, you go deep in a field of peanuts or cotton to get the shot, you'll understand the risk. But it was also so much greater than I could have ever imagined. Northern Australia is a content creator's dream. Amazing landscapes, diversity, culture, people who are so happy to have a yarn, and the light. Oof, golden hour in the north hits very differently to elsewhere. So what was the scope and what did I see and capture? The Cooperative Research Centre for Developing Northern Australia, or the CRCNA, has the remit of supporting industry-led research and development in industries where the North has the most potential for growth. These are First Nations-led business development, agriculture, including horticulture and forestry, aquaculture, water development, health service delivery, plus an education program. The aim is to help solve the challenges of doing business and reduce barriers to investment by developing new technologies, products, and services for issues unique to the North. I apply photography, videography, graphic design, and good old-fashioned yarns to tell our research stories and impacts in an easy-to-understand, contemporary way that appeals to diverse audiences in print and digital media. So starting from day one on the job, I witnessed the Northern Australian aquaculture industry develop and come to life before my eyes. Oyster production in 9 coastal regions, establishing a new boutique and totally northern tropical product that's been harvested for thousands of years, and creating a new economy and jobs in some of our most remote communities. I saw ornate crayfish, beautiful, premium and delicious, grown sustainably just north of Townsville. And Black Jewfish Hatchery, which is providing a new product in the market with the aim of protecting wild stocks. I had a pinch me moment working with ABC Landline on a production of the Tiwi Islands with traditional owners and commercial tropical forestry experts who have developed a new plantation model which is creating additional jobs and security for the Tiwi people. I travelled to Cape York for our Business on Country, led by some amazing First Nations eco-warriors who are removing feral pests, protecting wetlands, and creating biosecurity benefits, as well as food security and business mentoring for other Indigenous cattle producers. Special shout out to the Rockstar cattle producing ecotourism operators, the Harrigans from Normanby Station. Seriously, listen to their music, the Black Image Band. They're incredibly cool. On Groote Eylandt, two young 20-something-year-old traditional owners are leading a modern spatial data mapping project with LiDAR GIS technology for more informed economic and cultural decision-making, especially as they approach the end of current mining operations within the decade. They want to be on the front foot and their youthfulness is value-adding big time. They also trusted me with sharing their story to parliamentary stakeholders in the Labor caucus on a very chilly Canberra morning. I've seen an app come to life that connects First Nations cultural knowledge entrepreneurs with non-Indigenous workers and visitors on community for improved cultural competency. It's kind of like Uber for entrepreneurs. In agriculture, understanding the importance of integrated cropping and cattle systems for beef production that's more marketable, enhances animal welfare, and creates resilience to economic and policy conditions. I've met the amazing agronomists who support producers to grow your food and fibre in the most sustainable, efficient, clean, and profitable ways. We've been getting spicy with our spice projects that can provide real high value and diversified rotational cropping options for producers, and seeing invasive weeds turn into positive environmental outcomes that aid agricultural growth, improve soil quality, and improving water quality outcomes for the Great Barrier Reef, as well as climate adaptation technologies for crop rotations, slow-growing horticulture, biosecurity, and sea rise scenarios. I've stood in a field in the early morning with wild buffalo and never felt more peaceful, through to watching a hookworm move up someone's intestine as it essentially eats and poos to cure their chronic diseases. I know, I wasn't expecting that one either. I just thought I'd get a cute pic in a white lab coat. But anyway. Now, the people. I've met some great friends who've generously shared their time and knowledge to expand my understanding. Mitch, the gun aquaculture technician, who'll travel anywhere to help a community set up their oyster lines, to Sarah in Kununurra, who knows the most stunning sunset locations and holds the record for the best cotton crop ever grown in the Ord River irrigation area, and Nathan with his love of aquatic animals and his persistence to research precious waterways so development and ecosystems can coexist together. Our CRCNA team is small, but it makes up for it with big knowledge and passion, especially Dr. Ian Biggs, Sarah Doherty, and Anthony Curo. They're the project managers who make CRCNA research come to life. Sarah and Anthony are also our co-CEOs. Together, we explore, meet, and troubleshoot issues that come up along the research journey and find fresh ways of applying research into extension and adoption for long-term effect. They were kind enough to not laugh, well, at me directly, when I thought Asparagopsis was asparagus misspelt. It's not. It's a red seaweed that can be used as a supplement to livestock feed to reduce methane emissions. Thanks, guys. Sarah will also protect and rescue me from anything while I'm looking down the lens of a camera, like holding my feet as I took underwater oyster footage from the bow of a boat as a storm approached. She was also the one to console me when on that same trip, my brand new drone that took awesome aerial footage of the oyster lines, then clipped the side of the boat on its descent and now lives, with that footage, on the bottom of the ocean in the Winchelsea Passage off Groote Eylandt. And shout out to Anthony, who entertains my passion for cattle, cattlemen, Beef Week, Yellowstone, cowboy hats, boots, cattle breeds, feed, genetics, and my endless ramblings about starting my own cattle station in the NT, which I'll affectionately name Taco Station. Oh, and Anthony, do you know it's only 977 days until the next Beef 2027? But seriously, what I learnt. The thing that struck with me the most was how important it is that we, us of the North, are the ones telling our story of development. When we don't, others, mostly those down south, try it for us. And I'll be frank, that doesn't work for us or them. To truly understand the North, you've got to experience it. And not just for a holiday or a couple of months or a few work trips. You've got to live, work, play, and breathe it. We're complex. Relationships take time, the challenges are real and vast, the distances we move across are bigger than countries and combined states. Livability can be questionable, and we operate on First Nations controlled land, So inclusivity and respect is paramount. Not to mention, when it rains, it pours, and being a sweaty Betty is just part of the deal. Data is so important for us. We're always justifying where and why we lack equity and why we should be trusted with the solutions, like why we're demanding better essential services and access to health providers, why our industries are punching well above their weight despite supply chains for the most part being quite inefficient or inappropriate, why the changes to the climate are having very serious consequences for our people, industries, and livability, and why our people are just as skilled and capable of taking those contracts for accounting, legal, design, events, marketing, construction, that list goes on. To address the data gaps, the CRCNA commissioned 9 industry situational analyses around 2018 to 2022, which for the first time created Northern Australian specific baseline data to help our evidence and informed decision making. But since that time, we've had a global health pandemic, economic shifts, significant government policy changes, especially in agriculture, and no longer preparing for climate change, we're living with it. When we redeveloped the CRCNA website this year, our data portal was one of the most important elements. It still has a way to go and will continually evolve, but for the first time ever, it's a resource that we can all use to back our policy ideas and establish a robust and tailored evidence base for people, industry, and the environment. Moving forward, we'd love to undertake more analysis across sectors to build the knowledge gaps and leverage research and development applied through extension and adoption. This next part wasn't new, but it sure was reinforced over 57,000 kilometres of travel. The spirit of the North brings out innovation. It brings out tenacity, humour, humility, and a grit to make a go of something, quite unlike what I've seen in other parts of the country or the world, where close access to services and support can be taken for granted. Just watch a bush mechanic up here troubleshoot and you'll know what I mean. I once travelled 400 kilometres, most of that on dirt and no phone reception, with a boat trailer held together by masking tape, cable ties, and anchor rope. We got there. But I've also had to send loved ones away on care flights, panic-stricken that they'll receive the health care they deserve in time and then try to get to town as quickly as possible to support them. That's the truth of our reality when you live in regional or remote Northern Australia, and it's very sobering. 11.8% of our population live in very remote areas, 21% in remote, and over 55% in outer regional areas. Innovation plays a huge role in our development. I've seen global fashion brands operating from remote Indigenous communities, mustering cattle with drones, telehealth saving lives and eyesight that is entirely preventable, to scientists looking to cure chronic diseases with our tropical bugs. When you operate up here, there's little room for fluff and maybes. You need people in your corner backing you. One of the things I love so much about the CRCNA is we're doing that for over 272 partners who work with us. And I truly hope that Northern-based research continues for the North well beyond the CRCNA's 10-year 2027 mandate. Now to my final comments and an answer to a big question that followed me around for many years. At the Office of Northern Australia, we used to challenge ourselves with asking what would you do for Northern Australia if you were the Prime Minister for a day and had all the powers, real and some imagined. And well, standing in a sesame and peanut plantation south of Katherine earlier this year, it finally hit me. I'd do 3 things. Number 1, continue to invest in research and development that's led by Northern Australians. R&D is essential to truly realise the aspirations placed on the North. Research that works and research that doesn't is how we overcome the wicked policy and operating challenges of today and those of tomorrow that we don't yet know of. Number 2, commit to a rolling commitment of supply chain infrastructure so our goods get to market, domestic and internationally, in the most efficient way possible for a lot more of the year than we currently get. And so our people and our visitors can travel safely around our region and access health, education and social services like we all deserve. And a sub 2.1, sit down with the airlines and sort out air transport, access, costs and efficiency. And number 3, create a Northern Australia Act that provides accountability long-term to deliver for Northern Australians. Development won't be achieved if actions remain time-capped and stop-start in nature. Dive in and apply collaborative co-design with Northern Australians to build economic and social resilience that's generational. And that's my mic drop. 18 months on, I can confirm that my boots are now suitably scruffed. In fact, I now own 3. A girl needs a town pair, her rodeo dancing pair, and the hardworking pair. My 2 Akubras are my most valuable players and keep me safely shaded. And as for my camera equipment, well, we're still working that one out. Like I said, the North isn't for the faint-hearted. You can follow along through our CRCNA channels for more about our work, and please do, because our research is really cool and the adventures are still continuing. This year alone, I've been to Beef Week with beef fever still charging through my veins. I've participated in a crocodile conference about conservation efforts, being crocwise, and producing the highest quality luxury products for the world's greatest fashion houses. And I visited all the K-towns in the north, plus a few remote hotspots thrown in. You can also subscribe to my Substack, North by Belle Carlson, for my travels and thoughts on my very beloved Northern Australia. Thank you for listening, and may the North be with you.